Hi, this is Joel Farkas. I'll be live on your screen in just a moment. But first I wanted to introduce myself. I'm a volunteer docent tour guide for the National Park Service at Washington's headquarters in Morristown, New Jersey. I also give Revolutionary War era lectures that I generally do not even charge for. My goal is to motivate you to learn more about the founding of our nation, the extraordinary people, and the sacrifices they made in creating the country that we live in today. We're just about ready to start, so please contact me if you would like to talk about my giving your school, club, organization, one of my American Revolution lectures. Thanks for watching, and remember, as William Faulkner once said, the past is not dead. In fact, it's not even past. So, what caused the Revolutionary War? In a single word, taxes. But what happened that caused the need for the taxes? Well, now we have to go back to 1753. If you looked at a map of North America, you would see the 13 colonies along the eastern seaboard. You would see the Appalachian Mountains, and then west of the Appalachians, heading towards the Mississippi River, which was called the Ohio Country. This is land that both England and France claimed. On 1753, Virginia gets word that the French are building fortifications in this area. In today's world, this would be around Pittsburgh. So Virginia says, no, this is English land, this is not French land. So Virginia sends some of their militia to tell the French to leave. And this militia is led by a 21-year-old Major George Washington. Well, he gets there. The French say, we're awfully sorry, but this is French land. Washington comes back to Virginia. The next year, he goes back again. He has more militia with him, and there is a firefight. And these are the first shots of what we call the French and Indian War. Now, it sounds like the French are fighting the Indians, right? It's actually the French and their Indian allies fighting the British. Well, Washington retreats, but he retreats in an orderly fashion. And this is very important. He comes back, he writes up his battle report. This goes to England. The following year, Britain sends over troops under a General Edward Braddock. Washington becomes an aide to Braddock. They go back to the French. This time there's a larger fight. It's called the Battle of the Monongahela. If any of you are familiar with that area, you've got the Allegheny River, the Monongahela River, and the Ohio River. In this battle, Braddock is killed. And Washington, on his own, assembles the retreating British soldiers so that they retreat in an orderly fashion. And Washington is credited with saving their lives. He becomes somewhat of a hero, and now his name is associated with military leadership. By the way, in this battle, Braddock is killed. Washington himself has 2 horses shot out from under him, and they find 4 musket ball holes in his clothing. But he himself was untouched. Well, Washington really liked being an officer. So he decides he's going to apply for a permanent commission in the British Army. Now, this is virtually impossible for any colonist to achieve. For one thing, you needed political connections, and for a second thing, you needed a lot of money. But Washington applies anyway, and he is turned down. Now, let's think for a second. What if Washington would have been accepted? Come the Revolutionary War, he's fighting for the British, right? Something to think about. Well, this fighting between France and England spreads to Europe, almost a global war, if you will. In Europe, it's called the 7 Years' War, mainly because it lasts 7 years. Finally, in 1763, it's all over. England wins, but after all these years of war, England has no money in their treasury. And what does any country do when it needs money? Taxes. So it's 1779, and Washington is going to be spending that winter in the Ford Mansion in Morristown, New Jersey. And this is where I give tours. I'm not going to go through the entire house room by room, but I am going to go and talk about just a few areas, and I'm going to finish in George Washington's bedroom, and I'm going to talk about who shared that bed with George Washington. I bet I have your interest now. Now, if you look here, you'll see ropes coming out. And if you look where I have the mattress folded back, again, you'll see ropes. Mattresses rested on ropes at that point in time. There were no box springs. And you needed to keep the ropes tight, or of course you would otherwise sag in the middle. And that's where the term sleep tight comes from. There you go. Now, one of my favorite articles in this room is right here on the floor. It's a chamber pot. In other words, it's a toilet. I've been asked on tours, were there outhouses? And the answer is yes, there were. They were called necessaries. But at any rate, I love when I get kids on tour, especially that age of 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, because I ask them, who can tell me what this is? Well, one little boy said, oh, that's an oversized Starbucks coffee cup. You gotta love that, right? Well, at any rate, we work our way upstairs, and this is the bedroom that George Washington slept in for a little over 6 months. And who did he share his bed with? Martha. Sorry, no dirt here. I want to talk about Martha Washington. Martha Washington was born Martha Dandridge. That was her maiden name. She marries Daniel Custis. Thanks again, and I look forward to hearing from you.